Crossing S6, Chen awakens the god system of the alliance at the beginning of the game. But his personality is very stable. Do you think I'll start playing games like other senior travelers, shouting in a hurry? No. I want to hold on, fill up the attributes first before speaking. Finally, 2 years have passed, ding. System prompt. The host's full attributes are full, please do not waste time on rank anymore. Hey, it's urgent, the system is urgent. Chen shrugged his shoulders. Since that's the case, then come out of the mountains. From this day on, LPL, no, the whole world has welcomed their god of LOL. Novel keywords. LOL. Robust me, no pop. Up when opening full attribute, LOL. Robust me, opening full attribute. TXT complete collection download, LOL. Robust me, opening full attribute. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. 2 years, strive to full attribute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 2 years, strive to full attribute. June 2017. A seemingly ordinary day. In a dormitory in an apartment in Shanghai. System, view the properties panel. A lazy voice rang out. A handsome young man sat in front of the computer, watching the scene of the enemy base exploding on the screen, and stretched lazily. The next moment, a virtual data panel appeared before his eyes. Host. Chen. Operation. 100, consciousness. 100, response. 100, team battle. 99, version understanding. 100, hero proficiency. Future guardian, 100%, wild huntress, 100%, title C spirit, 100%, honor executioner, 100%, exile blade, 100%, unmatched sword lady, 100%, a total of 99 heroes have reached proficiency level, current remaining points. 4396, for attributes above 95 points, 4,000 points are required for each additional point. Points can be obtained through rank winning, higher ranks reward more, satisfying achievements, such as winning a world championship, completing system tasks, and other means. Comprehensive evaluation. SS+. Call out. Chen took a long breath and relaxed, saying, I've been struggling for 2 years. Finally, I'm almost full. But at this moment, he raised his eyebrows and found a system prompt below the data panel. Ding. Reminder. Professional players whose host attribute values have exceeded 100%, please complete the beginner task as soon as possible. Current beginner task. Become a starting player for an LPL League team. Reward. Points x 500. Take a glance. Chen chose to be too lazy to pay attention. He has seen this prompt countless times in the past 2 years. When he first woke up to the system, the dog system would prompt him every day to go out of the mountain and fight for a profession. At that time, he was just an unknown youth training team member with an average attribute value of less than 75. Even if there is a system, it is impossible to achieve success in one step, right? Do you want to go straight to the field and compete with those veteran players? What if I lose? Is he a reborn person or a reborn person with golden fingers? He doesn't want face, does he? That's right, Chen was reborn back in 2015. And inexplicably became a member of the RNG youth training team. Then, after awakening the system, he chose to spend 2 years brushing all attributes. Shit, do you think I'll be as reckless as those time-traveling predecessors? Awakening a system, with attribute values of 6 or 70, dare to go up and fight against those top professional players. Chen said that he is a steady person. He didn't even bother to think about the plot of Long Outyan. Since rank can earn points, even if he gains slower, he still needs to fill up his attributes first before proceeding. Anyway, that's a beginner task with no time limit or punishment. He either doesn't leave the mountain. As soon as you leave the mountain, you must be invincible in the world. Otherwise, if you're just cheating yourself and can't beat others, wouldn't that be very embarrassing? So, from S5 to S7, he has spent countless days and nights in the canyon. In order to avoid exposure, they even balance their own winning rate. Without hesitation, even if I obtained a cheat, Chen, have come to this day solely through my own efforts. System, add some points. Add the last point of the team combat attribute to me. Ding. Successfully added points, host's current team combat attribute. 100, just added the dots. Immediately, another prompt popped up. Ding. System prompt. The host's full attributes are full, please do not waste time on rank anymore. Got it, Chen chuckled. Tisk, you're not in a hurry, are you? Despite this system, like a cold program, has not received any response. With a shrug, Chen crossed off the game on the computer and rubbed his chin with one hand. It's really time to consider going out of the mountains. Let's finish the beginner's task first before we talk, he said. Join an LPL team and become a starter. Speaking of which, he has been delaying this task for 2 years and is still a substitute for the second team. Just as Chen was pondering. Jia. The door of the dormitory was suddenly pushed open. A beautiful girl wearing a white dress with a tired face walked straight into the room and said, "Xiakenzi, I'm so tired today." As soon as she entered, she lay on Chen's bed without any hesitation, as if her whole body had relaxed. He is the rising host of LPL. In just 1 year, I completed the commentary for the 3-level jump from LSPL, LCK to LPL. Rita, Feng Yu. What's wrong with you, Xiaoyuzi? Chen didn't take it seriously and just turned his chair to look at her. The two were childhood sweethearts. Even this apartment belongs to Rita, he can be considered to be living and eating here. Shit, it's not because of you, Rita weakly threw a white eye over me. Chen raised his eyebrows. Isn't your contract about to expire in 2 weeks? Rita sat up from the bed, propped up, legs together with the duck, and said sternly, I just thought about finding you a job. Chen was slightly stunned, his face suddenly changed. My contract is indeed about to expire. 2 years ago, when he first crossed over, his predecessor happened to have signed a 2-year contract with RNG's youth training team. In the past 2 years, due to his persistent pursuit of attributes, Chen's performance has been quite mediocre, and even in the second team, he has hardly had the opportunity to play games. Now, the contract is about to expire. On the RNG side, it is obvious that they will not renew his contract. Although RNG is the god of contracts, there is a saying that goes well. RNG is not a force, to put it nicely. Chen is about to become a free man. To put it bluntly, it's facing unemployment. Thinking of this, Chen's face looked a bit strange. So, what job did you find for me? Rita's chin curled up and she smiled smugly. Sister, I've been busy all day before the higher-ups agreed to give you a chance to try the commentary. Thank you very much, Xiaoyuzi, it's impolite. You have to call me Sister Rain. Rita waved her hand and said, at least you've also been in youth training for 2 years. The reason for the game is definitely good, and the commentary is very suitable for you. Before she could finish speaking, she heard the voice of the boy across from her echoing. But I refuse. Rita's expression paused, somewhat lost in thought, as she looked at Chen in confusion. Didn't I say it a long time ago? Chen's eyebrows raised slightly, and a spirited smile appeared on his face. Starting from this year, we will show off our skills and show you what legendary players are. What is the return of the god of war? Silence. In the room, there was a moment of silence. It's half loud. Rita frowned and muttered, Did you have a dream, Xiakenzi? However, upon seeing the clear gaze of the young man across from her, Rita blinked and said, are you serious? A player who can't even play on the RNG youth training team is talking nonsense about becoming a legend. No matter how you think, it feels like you're dreaming. This book is a pure and enjoyable piece of literature. Just have fun reading it and enjoy yourself. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Achievements of Bright Blind Dog Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Achievements of Bright Blind Dog Eyes. Of course, Chen stood up and crossed his waist with both hands. Stop pretending, let's have a showdown. Standing in front of you is the world's #1 LOL player. As he spoke, he tilted his lips and smiled. Do you understand what it means? The period of 3 to 2 years has arrived, and the Dragon King has returned to his throne. Yes, yes, Rita also got up from the bed and gave him a passing glance. Alright, I'll go cook first. After 2 weeks, if you can't renew your contract as a legendary player, don't cry and ask my sister for a job. After Rita left, there was only Chen left in the dormitory. He shook his head and sighed. Hey, nowadays, no one believes the truth. 1 week later. S7. This is a very special year. In the MSI mid-season, Spring Crown we, with full LPL hopes, once again lost to SKT and ended their international journey as a semi-finalist. Countless fans have once again felt the desperate pressure from the LCK division. If it were in previous years, that would be all. Each club will not pay too much attention to the situation of an MSI mid-season match. But this year is different. This year's S-game, the LPL division, is the home court. This is the first time holding a world tournament in front of my own house. Moreover, the final battlefield is in the place where all Chinese people hold special emotions. The bird's nest. Who wouldn't want to be there, each team, to win the first World Championship trophy belonging to LPL? As long as they succeed, the terrifying benefits that come with it are definitely enough to drive them crazy. So, during this brief summer transfer period, all clubs have put in a lot of effort, constantly recruiting and strengthening to expand their team's strength. At least, you need to get tickets to this most important world tournament first. At this point, IG Club. Bushifu Kid, who has been live streaming for a whole day, feels a bit overwhelmed. He sat slumped on the esports chair, his face dull and his eyes painful. After a while, he murmured, "Brothers, today is really not suitable for scoring. Why don't I get off first?" On the computer screen. A Super Ghost VN with a record of 0.8.0, particularly eye-catching. Suddenly, a barrage of bullets drifted through the live broadcast room. 666, losing 9 consecutive games, is this being hit and run away? What kind of colored pen? I've been looking at it for a while, but I haven't one. If you don't understand, just ask. I heard this is a professional player's live broadcast room. Can this also be used for professional sports? General Sturgeon, I really can't retire. Bird food, rookie's thighs are about to be broken by you. Lu, do you also deserve to play in AD mode? We've all switched to playing wild, can't we just focus on playing your wild? Wait. Don't rush, don't shut down. I need to see the data panel. Right. This VN is so exciting, let's take a look at the data. I just want to know if I can surpass that classic. It's all VN, this one feels much worse than that one. After a certain barrage drifted by, all the remaining barrage started to beat up, depending on the data panel. Kid instinctively swallowed his saliva, his eyes flickering as he said, "So what? This anchor is really amazing, so I won't be looking at the data panel anymore." He was a bit panicked. Can I not know the game I played myself? This female police officer on the opposite side hasn't treated her VN like a person since she was first level online. All kinds of cards are at an average distance, which makes him feel unbearable pain. Throughout the game, he was either autistic or killed, and was cleared after 10 minutes of driving. Without even surrendering, the base was pushed down by the enemy. From beginning to end, there were not a few A's across the street. Injury data, as you can imagine with your toes, would be a very shameful number. With this in mind, Kid immediately decided to fork out the game and play off, saying, "Brothers, I suddenly remembered that there's another important thing." However, before he could take action, a barrage of bullets had already drifted by. Got it. Got it. The child god's damage is 328. Turtle. Is it really fake? Did you break the record again? Invincible. You are truly my child god, you still have to break your own record. Is it so exaggerated? In the King's game AD, only dealt over 300 damage in one game. What's this? I can even play 443 with VN in a child god competition. You always say what's wrong with me, 443443. Today, let's broaden your horizons. My limits are never limited to this. 666, truly worthy of being the Sturgeon General, always able to refresh my understanding, joy. The birth of another timeless classic, in front of the screen. Kid's face instantly pulled down, with an impulse to vomit blood. Although he already had a premonition, seeing that number still made his scalp tingle. 328, in a normal game, if VN hits any third ring in the later stages, it will not only cause so much damage. There must be something wrong with this person. Kid gritted his teeth and said stubbornly, I don't have that much pressure just to face Uzi. This is definitely a top-level profession. While muttering, Kid clicked on the record of the opposing AD. Just opened at 1 o'clock. A page of green achievements caught Kid's eye, causing his pupils to slightly shrink. MVP, 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 or MVP. After flipping through several pages, I finally saw a few red ones, which were also SVP. Just click on it and see either 2 or more teammates are hanging up, or various actors are crazily giving away their heads. For example, an easy with a record of 10.2.1 is undoubtedly an SVP. Teammate up hang up, play 0. 5.2 in the wilderness, assist 0.4.3. Only in such an exaggerated game will we lose. Moreover, this is a new account that has only been registered for a week. Rank Master 520 points, winning rate of 90%. Turtle. Kid's expression just now disappeared, his eyes full of shock, he let out a sincere exclamation, and then quickly looked at the person's ID. Chen, you. An extremely unfamiliar ID. Anyway, in his impression, it seems that no one in the professional team has given such a name. At this point, the barrage has also exploded. Sleeping slot, sleeping slot, sleeping slot. What did I see? 90 win rate. It's really blinding my 24K titanium alloy dog eyes. What record is this? What kind of monster is this special? 90 win rate, are you joking? Is there a bug in the system? This person is definitely successful. Even a profession cannot achieve such results. It doesn't seem like General Sturgeon's problem with the hissing. The person on the other side is unusually fierce. This is without any acting, Nima. Master, it's over 500 points, with a 90% win rate. Are your fists in the gone gods and demons? Are you so blatant that you don't even care? Big brother, didn't you guys see that just now? He's just being simple and strong. Do you really think he's cheating? Indeed, even the script cannot produce that kind of operation. Is it possible for your script to achieve the kind of team battle stance and pulling that others have? For a moment, barrage disputes continued. On the contrary, Kid, who didn't know what was on his mind, lit up his eyes and hurriedly said, Brothers, I'm not in good shape today. I'll take down the broadcast first. After speaking, he quickly forked off the live streaming software and got up quickly to run towards the club. Only the audience in the live broadcast room were left, emitting a full-screen exclamation towards the black screen, dog anchor, he runs quite fast. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Climbing to the top. Explosion of fame. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Climbing to the top. Explosion of fame. After a moment of effort. Several people have already gathered in front of Kid's computer in the IG club. Manager Su Xiaoluo looked skeptical and said, "Is that person really as divine as you said?" Kid nodded confidently and said, "Believe me, you'll know when you see his record." His face was full of confidence, as if the record he had achieved was his own. Quickly, under the gaze of everyone, Kid clicked on the person's record page again. Suddenly, that green patch, combined with the continuous record of MVP, caught everyone's eye. Kid also specifically clicked on the overview page and said, "Look, Master scored 520 points with a 90% win rate." "Hee, I didn't lie to you, did I?" Hiss, a few people around took a deep breath. Especially the AD-ranked Western Emperor. Faced with this opponent who clearly posed a threat to himself, he originally intended to belittle them. But after seeing this record, he decisively shut his mouth. This record is not worthy of evaluation. Rookie's eyes widened and she said, "Big brother, isn't this really cheating?" Others were also full of disbelief. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't seem like a record that humans can achieve. You should know that the winning rate of the top Chinese server is only 58 now. Are you still a human, even though you have directly broken through 90? Moreover, judging from the record, this person mostly plays in the AD position. You should know that the AD position in this game has almost the smallest impact on the situation. To win, it largely depends on the face of one's teammates. The mages and assassins in Nakano can instantly make your health bar disappear. Weno's big meat and warriors can also let you know what tickling is and take you away with a set after you finish scratching. Even at any time, there is a funny scene where both sides assist each other in killing each other's AD, and then silently repair the knife and return to the city. It is almost impossible to achieve such a terrifying win rate by relying on AD position. This requires an unimaginable level of awareness and ability from a contestant. "Hi, don't you believe me?" Kid waved his hand and leaned back in his chair like an old man. "I've been playing rank for so many years, and you can tell at a glance if the script on the other side is there. This person, although there are some operations and movements when aligning, is indeed abstract like a script. But when playing in a team, whether it's searching for the best output position, stealing damage, or when to hit or not, they are all terrifyingly clear-headed." Thinking of this, Kid said again, "Besides, his winning rate has reached this level, and many people must have reported it, but he hasn't been banned yet, which already indicates the problem." On the side, Coach Maffa squinted his eyes and pondered, "So, maybe this is another genius." Speaking of geniuses, in fact, IG also has one. Jakalov, Yuwenba, is a young AD player who topped the Chinese server at the age of 14 and the Korean server at the age of 16. That is to say, he is not old enough to play games, otherwise he would have replaced West Emperor and become the starting AD. But even he could never have achieved such an exaggerated winning rate. 90%. This is no longer a genius, it's really a monster. Not far away, Yuwenba, who was watching the excitement, felt a chill on his body. He looked around in confusion, but in the end, he didn't notice anything and could only scratch his head. "Chen, do you have this ID that you are familiar with?" Su Xiaoluo seemed to have made up his mind and looked at the crowd, asking. Rookie and others shook their heads in confusion and said, "I don't know. This is a new account, it was only launched this week. And most of the time, their professional players still play Korean server, so it's normal not to know each other. Looking at it, it seems like someone's nickname." Su Xiaoluo remained silent for a moment and said, "In short, everyone should find a way to contact this person, ask him about his basic situation, and whether he is willing to come for trial training." "Okay," Kid nodded. "I've been queuing up for the past few days. If I run into him again, I'll try adding him as a friend. Rookie and others nearby also responded, we're here too. Su Xiaoluo rubbed his chin and said, if this person is really so strong, they would be perfect for us IG. There's no way. The biggest weakness of current IG is going downhill. On the previous order, there were S6 champion Duke and substitute the Shy. There is a rookie at the Dean level in the middle school. Playing Wild was originally a kid, but they borrowed a genius from YM to play Wild, Ning. Only down the road. There was originally a Jakalov Yuenba who might be able to carry the big flag, but he was not old enough and had to wait for more than half a year to play. It can only be supported by Emperor West. It can be said that almost all the next steps are breakthroughs. Since the S7, the fists have been constantly updated, along with the emergence of incense burners. The rhythm of the entire LOL has already shifted towards the down road AD dad. Basically, the side with AD's ability to take over the competition first will win this game. This position is so important, but their IG's weakness lies in it. No wonder Su Xiaoluo is anxious. Next week. This ID named Chen and Yu continues to score crazily on the Chinese server. 700, 900, 1200 in the end, with an unprecedented shocking 85 win rate, they reached 1580 points and topped the national server. For a moment, countless people in China were attracted to their attention. Whether it's the live broadcast rooms of major anchors, Weibo, forums, and other places, everyone is scrolling through this matter. For example, the famous stress bar. A post titled, Brothers, Chinese Server Number 1. Chen, Yu. Eternal Drop of God was topped on the homepage. The second post is titled Rational Discussion. Who is stronger among the emerging AD gods Chen, Yu, and Uzi? Thirdly, is such an exaggerated winning rate really strong, or is it just a cheat? Or is it the director, Sleeping Trough, really reaching the top? I have seen this person's OB, and their matchmaking and team building are both beautiful. Do you understand the gold content of BABAC? This person is like a sea of heroes. Just in the AD position, I can see that he has played more than 10 different heroes, and each one has full proficiency. Who the hell is this? Is it a professional player's nickname? Occupation. Even Uzi can't achieve such a record, is it good? Lu, a passerby who breaks through rank, is also coming to challenge the porcelain Uzi. Let's go to the professional arena and show off a few times before speaking. Rank is even fewer than Sarah's people. Indeed, Uzi has the world runner-up at least, and LPL and these ADs still rarely come to challenge themselves. Anyway, this person is even more terrifying than Dopa, at least the winning rate is much higher. Do you understand or not? What is the concept of someone who has an 85 win rate and ranks first in the national server? This kind of monster has never appeared before, okay. Just as netizens are crazily discussing online. Various teams and clubs have also begun to take action. The current version. It goes without saying what it means to be a top-tier AD player. Even with Uzi's RNG, people are starting to pay attention to this Chen and Yu. They would rather have this person serve as Uzi's substitute and rotate. I also don't want this person to run to other teams. The threat is too great. And when I first discovered the IG club with Chen and Yu accounts, I was even more anxious. It was clearly discovered by them first. But it's been a week now, and I still haven't been able to contact anyone. Su Xiaoluo is so anxious that she jumps. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Fat meat from the mouth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Fat meat from the mouth. At this point. In that apartment. Lu Chen stretched lazily and got up from the esports chair to move his wrist. Finally. Done. For players like him who have little competition experience. The best way to enter those teams in the LPL league is to reach the top in the Chinese or Korean server. And reaching the top with such an exaggerated winning rate can turn this knocking brick from a tile to a golden brick. At this moment, Rita's voice came from outside the door. "Chen, it's time to eat. Here we go." Chen tidied up the table and walked out the door. At the dinner table, Rita propped her head with one hand and looked at the boy across from her. "By the way, is your contract expiring tomorrow?" Chen paused and swallowed the rice in his mouth, saying, "Yes." "So, are you really not considering being a commentator?" Rita said helplessly, "You should know that RNG won't renew your contract anymore, right? I really need to renew my contract with a contestant. As early as 1 to 3 months after the contract expires, the club will start negotiating with the players. People like Chen have no movement at all. It indicates that the club is already in free range, allowing it to survive on its own, and will simply go bankrupt upon expiration." Of course. To Rita's surprise, the boy across from him not only didn't lose heart, but also became excited. It seems like not renewing the contract with RNG is a good thing for him. Chen smiled confidently and said, "When the contract is terminated, I won't go to any club I want to go to yet." Rita took a deep breath and rolled her beautiful eyes. "Although I don't want to undermine your confidence, it seems like you really don't have any points." She seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Do you know the mysterious passerby who recently topped the national costume?" "Chen, you." Chen frowned and said, "Of course I know." "It's good to know," Rita pointed it out directly. "That kind of genius from others is the real thing. How about picking a club casually? You're a person that RNG youth training teams don't even want, which team would pick it up?" Although saying this is very hurtful. But she couldn't just watch Chen sink deeper and deeper into this vortex. The esports circle, this is a place that truly eats talent. Without talent, even if you work hard, it's useless. Everyone can only see the contestant standing on stage, enjoying the lights and fans shouting. How many people can see the extremely cruel side in this circle? Countless young people with dreams and talents, without hesitation, rush towards this circle. But in the end, they can only become mediocre, wasting their entire youth in places where the lights under the stage can never shine. Even for those players who can play LSPL, how many teams can be selected by LPL? Not to mention, Chen is a guy who can't even play in the LSPL secondary league. Sports is really not a place where hard work can lead to success. Although what you said is very reasonable, Chen tilted his head and his expression became somewhat strange. He directly showcased his cards and said, "But I am what you call Chen and you." Rita blinked her eyes and a big question mark popped out of her head. Later, she rolled her eyes in anger and said, "Stop making trouble. I'm serious with you. If you're Chen or you, I can be your girlfriend, sister." Chen shrugged and said, "Who got into trouble with you? What I'm saying is serious. What do you think the names Chen and you mean? Chen, you, what does it mean?" Rita was still a bit unresponsive for a moment. Chen pointed to himself and then to her, and said jokingly, Chen, you, understand. Now Rita has come to her senses. At the next moment, her face bulged with 2 blushes. You, what do you mean? What do you mean? Chen looked at her adorable appearance and couldn't help but put his face closer. "Of course, thank you for taking me in." Rita was almost dizzy and quickly reached out to hold on to Chen's shoulder, saying, Don't try to deceive me. Tell me clearly what's going on. Is it a coincidence? Is it true?" Thinking of this, Rita was a bit hesitant to continue thinking. The passers-by Wang Chen and you who amazed everyone in LPL and made many clubs take action with great fanfare. Is it really the teenager in front of me who can't even start in RNG youth training team 2? The gap between them was too large, making Rita feel a bit dizzy and losing her judgment for a while. The key is, what a coincidence. But it's just Chen and you. I know you don't believe it. Chen looked at her happily, took Rita's little hand, and walked towards his own dormitory. What are you doing? Rita was somewhat startled by Chen's sudden action, unable to speak clearly. What's up? Chen turned his head with an interested smile in his eyes. I'll prove it to you. Proof. Rita was a bit confused. She thought this guy was going to do something bad. Chen shrugged helplessly and said, let me show you my number, won't that solve it? After a moment. In the dormitory, in front of the computer. Rita's rosy little mouth opened slightly, her eyes filled with disbelief. On the screen, an account with the IDs Chen and Yu is quietly hanging there. The strongest king, 1580 points, first in all servers. The most eye-catching thing is naturally the exaggerated winning rate 0.85%. After a while, Rita turned her head and stared blankly at Chen, unsure of what she was thinking. Chen reached out and shook his hand in front of her, laughing and saying, what's wrong? Shocked and foolish. Okay, you little Chenzi. Unexpectedly, Rita exploded and reached out to grab Chen's ear, biting his silver teeth and saying, I'm so worried about you. I'm afraid you won't be able to find a job after your contract is terminated. I'm begging my grandparents to give you a chance to explain and try it out. What happened? You even kept this kind of thing from me. Pain. Pain. The corners of Chen's mouth twitched slightly, and he suddenly remembered what Rita had said before. He suddenly bent down, turned around, pressed his face against Rita, and hugged her shoulder. What are you doing? Rita widened her eyes and was startled. Hee. Chen grinned and said, you just said, if I were Chen or you, what would that be? Rita blinked her eyes and tried to recall before suddenly remembering what she had said. If you're Chen or you, sister, I can be your girlfriend. This sentence echoed in my mind. Suddenly, her face turned crimson, and she withdrew her hand like an electric shock, murmuring, that was just a moment of anger. Yes, it was a moment of anger. Chen doesn't care about these things. How can the fat that reaches the mouth fly? He continued to move forward with a shy face and said, I don't care, I'm serious anyway. For a moment, the atmosphere became ambiguous. Rita's pupils trembled slightly, but in the end, she blushed and closed her eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Farewell, Cage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Farewell, Cage. Those clubs crazily searching for Chen and you wouldn't think of it. They tried their best to reach people they couldn't even reach. I am currently busy dating. If I knew, I'm afraid many club leaders would be so depressed that they would spit out a mouthful of old blood. Big brother, you've already ranked first in the national server, haven't you considered contacting professional teams? Don't pursue a career and make a name for yourself, just stay here and start dating. You have some aspirations, big brother. At this point. Within IG Club. Did you get in touch? In the training room, Su Xiaoluo's face was full of impatience. The IG team members sitting in various positions also looked helpless. Kid shrugged in silence and said, all the friend requests we sent have not been approved. He even specifically asked players he knew from other clubs, and none of the friend requests they sent were approved. Rookie also said with a headache, and since this person reached the top, he hasn't even ranked a single time, so there's no chance he can be ranked. As for the Western Emperor, he sat in the corner without speaking. To be honest, he's showing off a bit now. After all, our own team already has a Wenba, and as soon as we get older, we will take the starting position, which is already a certain thing. Now, here comes another Chen and Yu. Under the dazzling light of these geniuses, he truly appeared somewhat dull and lifeless. As long as these talented players arrive, he must give up his position. It's very cruel. But this is esports, everything speaks with strength. Hey, Su Xiaoluo looked worried. The key now is that the transfer period is only 10 days left, less than half a month left, and the summer games are about to start. If we can't sign this Chen and you in these 10 days, then we'll have to wait until next year's S8 to join the team. But at that time, Yu Wenbo was already old enough to play directly. Moreover, they will also miss the most important S7 World Championship as a result. Ultimately, the reason why IG is in a hurry now is because Yu Wenbo cannot play yet. The AD position of the version is too important, and Western Emperor cannot take on the main responsibility. That's why they are so eager for a top AD player. If Chen and Yu cannot be signed during the summer transfer period, it will be meaningless for IG. Not just IG. At this time, the leaders of other clubs are also very worried. This newly appointed passerby king has reached the top with an unprecedented terrifying victory rate. But it seems that there is no intention of playing a profession at all. If Lu Chen knew, he would definitely shout, wrongly. It's really not that guys don't want to talk to you. Mainly, buddy, he's already a professional athlete, now we definitely have to wait until the contract is terminated before discussing anything. The next day. RNG Club. Wearing an ordinary white T-shirt, Lu Chen didn't attract anyone's attention and walked straight to the entrance of the boss's office on the second floor. The office door is open. There was a conversation between two people inside. Firefox, since we can't get in touch, there's no need to waste energy on this. Our RNG doesn't lack AD. The other person said helplessly, boss, we have evaluated that this new passerby king, Chen and Yu, is different from any previous passerby king. His winning rate is different. Coach Firefox was interrupted by the boss by Xing before he could finish speaking. These are not important. We have already spent a lot of money to sign Uzi, and there is no need to spend so much money on the AD position anymore, understand? As he spoke, Bai Xing sneered, do you think a passerby who has only beaten rank would be even stronger than Uzi? For a moment, Coach Firefox became silent. In recent years, there have indeed been many so-called passers-by kings who have performed mediocrely after joining professional teams. Or they may not adapt to the rhythm of the competition. Or it could be that the hero pool is too shallow, which is also known as the ultimate skill brother. When someone abandons your ultimate skill, it basically declares you retired in place. No wonder White Star doesn't value it at all. After all, they already have a strong AD player who has proven themselves in the professional arena. Uzi. Nevertheless, Firefox actually wants to fight for it. He has carefully studied the newly emerged passers-by Wang Chen and Yu. Whether it's the details of the alignment, positioning and reinforcement, handling team battles, etc., this person's performance is all too perfect. Moreover, there is a massive pool of heroes. It's definitely not something that the previous skilled guys can compare to. Knocking and knocking. Just then, a knock on the door rang out. White Star and Firefox in the office all turned their heads to look. I saw Lu Chen standing at the door and awkwardly saying, well, coach, boss, I'm here to discuss the contract issue. Although the office door is not closed. But standing here eavesdropping on others talking about oneself is indeed a wonderful thing. Firefox nodded and said, come in. Cough, Bai Xing restrained his expression and glanced at Lu Chen, it's you. I remember you were the substitute player for the second team's youth training, right? Yes, Lu Chen nodded and said, my contract expires today. Well, Bai Xing didn't beat around the bush and spoke directly, I believe you understand that we have no intention of renewing the contract. A player who has been in the second youth training team for 2 years but has not achieved any results. The RNG certainly cannot renew the contract. I know, Lu Chen nodded naturally, I came over today to terminate the contract. Bai Xing glanced at him unexpectedly. As usual, when other professional players face termination, they often worry about gains and losses. This kid is quite self-aware and witty. Well, at least I stayed at the club for 2 years. After the contract is terminated, I wish you could find a job that suits you better, Bai Xing said with a satisfied smile on the side. Firefox's lips twitched slightly, as if wanting to say something, but in the end, he still didn't speak. Next, there is a complete termination process. RNG is quite happy here, even giving an extra month's salary of 2,000. It completely lacks the appearance of the god of contracts that came later. The entire process took no more than half an hour. As the saying goes, RNG doesn't get stuck. After a moment. After terminating his contract, Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief, with a relaxed smile on his face, and walked out of the club's door facing the sunshine. Farewell, Cage. After half a sound. Inside the apartment. Has the contract been terminated? Rita sat cross-legged on the sofa, her upper body pressed against the boy next to her. I'm sorry, Chen nodded and smiled. From now on, I'll be a free agent. I'll sign wherever I want. Rita gave him a blank glance and said, You're still free, unemployed. As she spoke, she curiously asked, By the way, RNG is now one of LPL's top 3 companies. Why don't you just fight there? The current LPL. Besides the Red Miracle RNG is the most popular. Even though the 2 companies are somewhat on par. As for EDG, in the S6 game, after the factory manager kicked 43-96, he also kicked away many fans. Compared to the other 2, it is already slightly inferior. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Damn it. Is there still such a fierce person? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Damn it. Is there still such a fierce person? To be honest. Nowadays, there is a clear gap in the team clubs of LPL. If the popularity of the 3 royal families is around 100. So for other clubs, even if they have decent popularity like IG and Snake, it would be good to have 20. For many professional players, being able to start at the Usangia is definitely a happy thing. Don't worry about whether you can achieve results or not, at least you definitely have traffic. But Chen, this guy stayed in RNG youth training for 2 years. Despite having the ability to easily climb to the top of the national uniform, I have been hiding myself tightly for 2 years. As if afraid of being discovered by RNG, it's like taking him to the starting lineup. In Rita's opinion, this is somewhat unbelievable. Chen shrugged and said, RNG already has Uzi. What else am I going to do? Rita nodded slightly and said, Well, that's true. No matter how strong Chen's performance is in rank, it is difficult for others to compare to that esports superstar. Moreover, I don't like this club. Chen shook his head and added. He didn't say much about the god of RNG contracts. A few years later, someone once asked such a question. Who is the god of League of Legends? For this question, some people answer it as Uzi, always drop a god. After all, the slogan shouted by a certain online anchor can be said to be highly topical. Some people say it's Faker Li Xianghe, the Triple Crown champion of the league, and the Great Demon King in the middle. For professional Chinese singles players of that era, being able to single out Faker in a competition can be said to be an extremely high achievement and honor. Even some people's answer is a certain surname commentator. With a handful of poisonous milk, he has successfully become the god of poisonous milk that countless gamers talk about, but none of these are right. The god of LOL, there is only one. That's my RNG. The god of contracts. Uzi cannot win the world championship. Faker will also grow old and change vegetables. Even Guan Ziyuan has a time when his milk is not in his mouth. But when I get the RNG contract, it's 1 card, 1 accurate, 1 card, 1 dead. So, which team are you going to? Rita asked curiously. Chen smiled slightly and said, I have always had a goal, but it's not the Imperial family. RNG has Uzi, EDG has Eboi, and we has an uncle. They are all the ace of various teams, how can they easily replace a passerby to start? As for his goal, is that worth mentioning? Of course it's IG. Except for the AD position, the current IG is almost complete. If it weren't for staring at this position, why would he have to use the AD position to score? A panel that is fully filled with land-sinking attributes, with a midfield upper division, is definitely the fastest, and the winning rate will be even more exaggerated. After all, these two positions are the ones that can easily drive the overall rhythm of the game. After a moment. In the dormitory, in front of the computer. Chen looked at the crowded friend applications on the game interface and felt a tingling sensation. However, relying on my memory, I found the kid I added him a week ago and clicked to pass. Then send 2 words. Hello. At the same time. IG Club, with a live broadcast on, kid sitting in front of the computer eating saw a message prompt and almost spat out the food in his mouth. Subsequently, kid, who had a reaction, quickly said, "Brothers, there's an urgent matter. The anchor has taken down first." As he spoke, he moved the mouse and forked off the live streaming software. Suddenly, a large number of bullet comments drifted across the black screen. Wait. What did I see earlier? Is that ID Chen or you? It's him. I won't admit it wrong, a loving avatar. Damn it. Has God C finally started contacting the club? Touching. I thought I wouldn't be able to see God C play games in my lifetime. Woo woo, child God, it's not your fault for dropping the broadcast early this time. Seize the opportunity and leave C God in IG. You must take off this year. As I said, Faker is not working well. Great, finally I can see that monster wreaking havoc on professional players. What's the point of constantly bombarding the king with fish over 1,000 points? I'm tired of watching OB. Brothers from 1,000 points of the king and fried fish, would you like to see what you're saying? Lul, it's like saying that if C God goes to play a profession, he won't play a rank anymore. Anyway, there's finally news from God C, it's not easy. Actually. During this period of time, the public opinion online has been causing a lot of uproar. Especially in places such as Chiba and Weibo, they have fallen heavily. Various posts and comments make the scalp of major clubs tingle. For example, why are Chen and you gods, and why haven't any teams signed him yet? How high is the vision of LPL's team? A monster with an 85% win rate topping the national uniform seems to be something that no club seems to be interested in. Is the LPL team playing poorly and not cherishing the opportunity to win the championship in front of their own doorstep? Is there still a chance for C God to sign with the team as the summer transfer period is coming to an end? I don't care, I want to see C God play professionally, mainly to see if he can also kill recklessly in professional matches. LPL clubs, come on. There's no way. When playing games, Chen's infallible skills, ultimate development ability, picturesque team battles, incredible positioning and prediction, and so on, all attract fans too much. League of Legends is such a game. The more extreme the operation, the more impressive it is and the more it can attract fans. Faker's double calamity battle, Uzi's VN bypasses, the Shy's heavenly god descends to earth. These famous scenes, even in the past many years, are still talked about by people. And this extreme operation is almost present in every game of Chen. At this point. IG Club. A group of people gathered in front of Kid's computer, watching him input a conversation. Kid. Brother, I finally got in touch with you. It's not easy. Chen, you. I just saw it. Sorry, my friend messages have been full and haven't been cleared. Kid. I understand, brother. I'll just open up the window and speak frankly. Are you coming to play a profession? We IG want to sign you. Don't worry, with your level, it's definitely the kind that starts with an annual salary of 1 million. Chen Yu. I have this idea. Kid. Great, it's inconvenient to talk in the game. Can you add a contact information? Chen Yu. Walking slowly. Soon. The two added social media and began formal communication. Of course, the person in charge of communication at IG has changed from Kid to manager Su Xiaoluo. Moreover, when Su Xiaoluo spoke, there was a smell of good money. Prior to this, he had already contacted his own boss, Principal Wang. After understanding the situation over there, the original words were, "Damn it, there's still such a fierce person." Sign. The lion opened his mouth and signed too. As long as he can show half of his strength on the field, it's enough. With the boss's backing, Su Xiaoluo naturally has a lot of wealth and strength. As soon as you speak, you start with an annual salary of 2 million. You should know that nowadays, professional players who want to earn an annual salary of over 1 million must establish some reputation on the field. And Lu Chen, at this time, has not played a single game. It shows the sincerity on IG's side. After both sides reached a preliminary agreement, it was decided that in the afternoon, Lu Chen would go to IG for a trial training. After all, both sides are in Shanghai, very close. Moreover, the transfer period is almost over and we must hurry up. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Sharpen the sword for 2 years, unsheath today. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Sharpen the sword for 2 years, unsheath today. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A luxurious villa by the Huangpu River. This is the base of IG Club. A young man in white pushed open the door of the club in the sunlight. The receptionist looked at him curiously and said, "Hello, what can I do for you?" Lu Chen touched his nose. "My name is Lu Chen and I'm here for a trial. Trial training." The little sister's eyes were puzzled, and then she thought of something. Her expression became excited, and she jumped up and down. "Are you the sea god?" Lu Chen was taken aback and said, "Do you know me?" "Of course I do." The little sister smiled proudly and said, "I'm also a player in the league. How could I not know the famous sea god?" As she spoke, she carefully looked at Lu Chen and said, "Well, although I thought I would be very young, I didn't expect to be so handsome." During this period, coinciding with MSI's off-season, there were no matches. So the discussion about the IDs Chen and Yu has almost always been at the top of the LOL field, ranking high. Most people who follow this circle know that a monster with an extremely exaggerated winning rate has topped the national server. But unfortunately, no one knows who this is. So many people became curious. Even many people encourage major teams to sign Chen and Yu just to see what they look like in the game and satisfy their curiosity. Don't think it's outrageous. In fact, many so-called fans are all musicians. When they have fun, they are often more proactive than anyone else. Quickly, after the receptionist dialed a phone number, within half a minute, 2 figures in suits appeared in the lobby. After seeing Lu Chen, the 2 of them walked straight over. "Hello, are you Lu Chen?" "I am Su Xiaoluo, the manager of IG team, and this is Coach Mafa." Su Xiaoluo reached out and shook hands with Lu Chen, saying with a smile, "I didn't expect the rumored god C to be so young." Coach Mafa also spoke in Chinese with a slightly strange accent and said, "You're so bored." Although he has an accent, he actually speaks Chinese quite well. Initially, Coach Mafa and the coal mining duo Rookie and Kakao came to LPL together. Just because they speak Chinese very fluently, some people jokingly refer to the IG team as the first Chinese language college in esports. Lu Chen nodded politely and said, "Hello. You're here at the right time, come with me quickly." Su Xiaoluo looked a little excited. "There's a training match playing now, let's treat it as your trial." At this point, the training room on the 2nd floor. A BO3 training match is currently underway. The opposing teams are IG and EDG. The situation in the first round was obviously not smooth on IG's side. The Shy, who was on the road, struggled to make a breakthrough in the face of Ah Guang's pressure-resistant tree. Moreover, due to the impatient attack, it became the focus of the factory director's care. In less than 10 minutes, 2 heads have already been contributed. The performance of the broiler in the middle is as impressive as ever, but it is not enough to overwhelm the elementary school brother scout across from him. Although Ning Wang, who fought in the wilderness, was bold in his actions, he was also a bit dizzy when faced with the old factory director. As for the way down, it can only be said to be tragic. It's too tragic. It is still possible to mix lines with ordinary AD players. However, the newly debuted genius AD boy on the opposite side has an extremely fierce style, with full pressure on the opponent's lines. In addition, the factory director who often comes down the road almost leads to IG being threaded directly down the road. Although no human head was generated, in just 10 minutes, the gap in repairing the knife had reached over 40, and a tower was almost hit to the point where only blood skin was left. 3 words, I can't play. Sure enough. After a 15-minute support team battle on the river, EDG engaged in a 1.on.1 exchange, and the female police officer from Iboi made 4 kills, resulting in IG being annihilated by the team. As IG knocked out the GG on everyone, both players tacitly withdrew from the game. The atmosphere in the training room suddenly became somewhat silent. 5 IG team members sat on chairs, their heads slightly drooping and their faces not looking very good. Kid, Duke, and Yuenba, who were sitting not far away watching the battle, were also somewhat confused. This fight is really ugly. It was already pushed flat in just over 10 minutes. Although playing training matches is just to discover problems, it's not enough to play all problems, right? They are checking and filling in the gaps, but as a result, you have all these loopholes. How can you check and fill them in? This kind of game doesn't even have the value of a review, because the player's ability lies here. You can't expect Emperor Shi to perform extreme maneuvers, evade skills, and complete counterattacks when the factory director comes to catch you, can you? If we could really do this, then the Western Emperor would not be the Western Emperor anymore at this moment. The door to the training room was pushed open. Su Xiaoluo walked into the room and clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Everyone, let me introduce it to you, he said. He turned around and patted the shoulder of the young man behind him, saying loudly, this is the new member who will soon join our IG, Chen. Speaking, Su Xiaoluo laughed and said, his ID in the national server must be familiar to you both, Chen, you. For a moment, the atmosphere in the training room changed. Everyone's thoughts were taken away from the training match just now, and they looked at the white-clad boy who walked in with surprised and curious eyes. Is this the monster, Sea God, who climbed to the top of the national server with an exaggerated winning rate of 85%? Well, it's not as 3-headed and 6-armed as rumored. Welcome. The first thing that came to mind was the broiler, as the old captain of IG, his face lit up with a warm smile. Brother. You're finally here. Kid quickly got up from his chair and said, it's not easy to find you. You don't know, my hair has been turning white lately. Later, the Shy, Bao Lan, and others also greeted each other. Hello everyone, just call me Lu Chen said, not afraid of being angry. He grinned and showed a white tooth, his eyes clear and shining with a gleam. It seems that in a short period of time, everyone began to become familiar with each other. Prince Ning became even more accustomed to being careless and shouted with a smile, God see. Come on, that just ravaged us so badly. Hurry up and save us. This statement clearly shows no concern for the face of the neighboring Western Emperor. But the Western Emperor remained silent and didn't say anything. After all, that one just now was indeed a breakthrough point, and that's the fact. Su Xiaoluo answered in a timely manner, the next 2 training matches will be played by Lu Chen, which happens to be his trial. Okay, Lu Chen nodded. A faint ripple also arose in his heart. Travel to this world for 2 years. After 2 years of hard work in the canyon, I finally filled my attributes and never played a formal game. Now that we are out of the mountains, of course we need to stir up a storm on the field. From now on, let's fully showcase our strengths. Although it was just a training match, it was still enough to make one's true debut. Grind the sword for 2 years, today it will be unsheathed. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Debut. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Debut. The Western Emperor silently put away the things on the table and made way for Lu Chen. Then he walked to the nearby observation seat and sat with Yu Wenba and Kid. Hey brother, it's okay, Kid seemed to see his mood and patted his shoulder to comfort him. Look at me, didn't you also switch from AD to Wild? This is a reasonable comfort. One of the former IG Gemini stars, also known as the child prodigy of AD, who would have thought he would switch to playing in the wilderness in a few years. Moreover, even in the wilderness, he has now been squeezed out of the starting lineup by the new Ning Wang. The two of them have a sense of brotherhood and brotherhood. The Western Emperor glanced at him and shook his head as if he had taken it a bit off. Don't comfort me. Actually, I had thought of this day long ago, but I didn't expect it to come so soon, he said. From the time the club signed Jakalov, also known as Yu Wenba, the Spanish Emperor knew that his starting lineup would eventually be lost. I am aware of my own strength. Even if you're not willing, if you can't compare to others, you can't compare. Initially, Jakalov won the first place on the Korean server with a 65 win rate, which has already caused a stir among many clubs in China, vying for a contract. And now, an even more monster Chen and Yu have emerged, with an 85 win rate topping the national server. He can't even think of this number. Anyway, soon, the second training match of BO3 is about to begin. Relax, the broiler said first, this is just a training match, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Just play normally and don't have any psychological burden. After all, he is the captain. A newcomer has joined, he definitely needs to take care of it. Prince Ning shrugged and said, if you have any questions, just call me. I'll come down the road and help you catch them. Don't worry. Lu Chen couldn't see any nervousness at all, he just moved his wrist and smiled, I will. On the contrary, Baolan, who was sitting next to him, said nervously, I will also do my best to cooperate with you. Soon, BP began. EDG still doesn't know that the AD position here has been changed. They are still the regular ban selection, with the first 3 hands banning spiders, excavators, and limbo. On the contrary, it's IG's side. Under the command of Coach Mafa, no longer targeting AD positions, but banning Rock Sparrow, Trolls, and Jella. In the training room of EDG Club, several players and Coach Nof were surprised in their eyes. Ah Guang scratched his head and said, hey. It's strange. Is IG really acting poorly? Not even an AD. You should know that the previous one was facing Siban AD, which respected Miko's hammer stone. It's normal, isn't it? Miko T&I smiled and said, they used to ban like that, but they still exploded on the way down. Let's change our mindset now. Hu Xianzhao, who was next to him, looked confident and said, no matter what the opponent chooses, I can suppress him and fight. For a moment, all the people on EDG's side suddenly realized. That's right, since it doesn't matter how much you choose for ban, it's better not to target AD and limit the ban position to a few other positions to see if it works. However, thinking of this, everyone at EDG had a strange expression on their faces. You were so targeted in the previous game that you were beaten over 40 times in the next 10 minutes. This game is not targeted, isn't it really going to explode? Quickly, both sides entered the latter half of the selection process. EDG continues to win exclusive single tree, as well as auxiliary Luo and Wild Pig Girl. On the other hand, IG has taken over the Zhongdan large nuclear aircraft, the auxiliary Nyoto, and the unique skill Zack of defeating the Wild Prince. Subsequently, EDG banned Chen and Na. IG also refused to be outdone and banned Snake Woman and Gario. Lu Chen, what kind of hero do you want? Coach Mafa asked in fluent but strangely accented Chinese. Without hesitation, Lu Chen said directly, female police officer. Okay. Mafa's eyes lit up and she said, that's the female police officer. In this version, female police officers are an extremely strong point in the AD position. Or rather, since the previous version 7.09 enhanced critical hits, female police officers have already gained a unique position among many AD heroes. With a super long attack range of 650 yards, it is enough to cast psychological shadows on many ADs. When the level is similar, if the opponent dares to select a weaker hero on the opponent's line, there is even a risk of directly exploding the line. But the problem is, in the past, IG dared not choose this hero. The hero pool of the Western Emperor limits IG's selection of AD heroes. Moreover, even if a female police officer is selected, it is difficult for the Western Emperor's ability to suppress the opponent's players on the line. It is better to directly choose a hero like a small cannon to compete in the post-team battle. On the contrary, the opposite side often selects this hero when playing IG. Just like the previous one. EDG is using female police officers to directly push IG down. And now, the situation seems to be starting to reverse, the good play has begun. Accompanied by exclusive lines, the female police officer was locked down as a hero. At this moment, EDG is also a bit confused. Especially Eboi frowned and said, what do you mean? The other side wants to pressure me on the other side. Anti-Teaching Bureau. Where did that guy from the Western Emperor get his confidence? Don't worry, the factory manager said calmly, just choose it normally. If they choose it this way, it's still their own fault if they can't achieve the desired results. The female police officer, no matter how strong she is online, cannot ignore her mid-term weakness. Unless equipped with advanced equipment, mid-career female police officers are unable to move those who take orders. The female police officer from the previous Eboi game developed too smoothly to take over the game in just over 10 minutes. If complete suppression is not achieved, selecting this hero will only have a counterproductive effect. They really don't believe it. The last time the Western Emperor was still being hammered, could a female police officer turn around and press the Eboi hammer? It's not a Dragon Ball, it can also be a Super Saiyan explosive seed. Nasha. Coach Nof's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. The other side released Xia and Luo to us in order to capture the female police officer. In this version, if female police officers are the only one in the AD position. So Xia and Luo, who have just emerged a few months ago, are the only teams in the entire down road combination. There won't be any teams, so put these two heroes on the opposite side at the same time. IG's move is completely self-inflicted. Okay, Eboi decisively locked Xia down, his eyes full of war intent. I want to see what the Western Emperor's female police officer is using to suppress me. Next, EDG selected Zhongdan Luzian. IG, on the other hand, made up for the large bug in the previous order. The lineup of both sides has been completely formed. Blue EDG. Top single Big Tree, middle single Lucian, Wild Boar Fighting Woman, AD Xia, Auxiliary Luo. Red Square IG. Top single Big Bug, middle single Plane, Fight Wild Zack, AD Female Police Officer, Assist Bullhead. It can be said that this game has nothing to do with the progress of both sides. Two large pieces of meat develop together, and in the middle and later stages of team battles, the current sandbag can be stabilized. Especially for IG, the aircraft in the middle is a large core in the later stage, and there is hardly any noise in the early stage. The rhythm relies entirely on playing Wild Zack to drive it. The C position in the early and middle stages undoubtedly depends on the female police officers. That is to say, the success or failure of this game largely depends on the performance of the female police officers on the road. After a moment, the game enters the loading interface. Lu Chen's eyes became serious, and his momentum suddenly changed. Come on, although it's just a training match, it's still my debut at least. Just use EDG to become my first sacrifice after leaving the mountain. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Ultimate Snake Skin Movement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Ultimate Snake Skin Movement. Welcome to League of Legends. Both sides enter the game. Both sides quietly came to their own wilderness to observe, and then returned to the online waiting line. After all, it is a training competition, and for the sake of training effectiveness, the default is not to play first-level teams. Lu Chen's female police rune is a standard attack, armor, and magic resistance. As for the cornerstone talent, it is point bloodthirsty, enhancing online endurance and suppression power. Be careful when pressing the line down the road, the chicken reminded, the factory manager really likes to catch it. EDG is a team that focuses on the middle and lower half of the field. As for the journey of EDG, it can only be described in 4 words. Self-emergence and self-destruction. There is a saying that goes well. EDG invites big trees and requires a meeting to place orders. This sentence can be simply understood as: the only requirement for EDG to place an order is to withstand pressure, select a meat tank that is effective in team battles, play slowly on the road, and wait for the lower middle to take over the competition. This is their consistent style. Prince Ning spoke up and said, "Let me brush it from top to bottom, just to ensure a smooth transition." Okay, Lu Chen nodded, "I will be careful. Pressing the line is definitely necessary. The female police officers have all been selected, how can they play without pressing the line?" Soon, the military line arrived. As soon as Lu Chen's female police officer was online, she began to aggressively push the line. Cooperate with the Q-skilled peace messenger to lower the health line of the opponent's minions and stand quite forward. It is worth noting that the female police officer sways wildly from side to side while holding on to the soldiers, looking like a spinning top in place. It looks so eerie. The 2-person group on the opposite side looked silly. Eboi even sent out a soul triple question, "What's wrong with this? What is the West Emperor pretending to be? What's the point of his twisted behavior?" Miko was also speechless. This twist is even more exaggerated than Uzi. Aren't his hands tired? At this moment, Xia, who was about to have her knife repaired, was coldly treated by the female police officer. Eboi was about to fight back when he realized that the opponent had already retreated 1 position, so he endured and continued to reinforce his troops. Unexpectedly, when he was filling in the next soldier, he was shot cold by the female police officer again. This time, Eboi couldn't bear it anymore and immediately moved forward to fight back. But the result was pulled by the female police officer and he couldn't reach A. When I was walking back, I was turned back by the policewoman again. If you want to fight back, you can't hit the opponent. After pulling and pulling several times, Xia's bloodline ran straight towards Half-Blood. Eboi felt numb and quickly manipulated Xia to step back, saying, "No, this person is not right. Is this really the Western Emperor? Can the Western Emperor have such a level of pulling?" As a genius AD debuting, Eboi is confident that his operations will not be inferior to anyone else. Even against the now famous Uzi, he doesn't think he will definitely lose. But when facing the female police officer in front of him, he inexplicably felt a sense of powerlessness. That terrifying distance control is really scalp-numbing. More importantly, he was still hammering under the pressure of the Western Emperor in the previous blow, so why did he suddenly strike with a heavy punch from the opposite side? Caught off guard. On the side, Miko's gaze also became somewhat surprised. This is only 1 level, why are they already starting to feel a bit out of line? In the first wave of 6 soldiers, Xia failed to replenish 3 of them and only had half of her health left. It's really a loss. Seeing that Iboi next to him was a bit confused, Miko quickly comforted and said, "Don't worry, when we reach the second place, Xia Luo has reached a period of strength, and he will definitely not dare to put so much pressure again." Okay, Iboi regained his senses and gritted his teeth, nodding. With the arrival of the second wave of troops. This time, the female police officer pushed even more recklessly. Step back first," Miko hurriedly said, "we can't grab it." The 2 quickly retreated and dared not continue to eat this wave of soldiers. It is undoubtedly very unwise to compete with female police officers for the line. So IG took the lead in reaching level 2. This time, the situation became even more passive. With the 2 skills of QW, the bullhead began to move forward continuously, and the female police officer directly crossed the military line and began to get stuck. The Xia Luo on the opposite side is even a bit hesitant to eat his experience, so he can only keep shrinking down the tower. Damn it! After all, Iboi couldn't help but curse out loud. It's too uncomfortable. This is definitely the most uncomfortable game he has played since his debut. Even in the face of Uzi, he never felt so uncomfortable, but being beaten like this by the West Emperor, who has always been less respected, made his proud heart unable to accept it for a while. "Don't worry, I'll be right there." The factory director quickly shouted, "Hold on." He didn't expect that his family would be crushed like this when they got off the road. The speed of the pig girl's gameplay is not fast, which means that if she wants to go down now, she won't be able to complete the red buff and upgrade to level 3. But the factory director is actually not panicked because the road on the opposite side is too far ahead. When he goes, at least one can be caught dead. He is too familiar with this situation. Classic second-level capture. Pressing the line comes at a cost. On this side, IG's Prince Ning also noticed the problem and couldn't help but speak up and ask, "Are the 2 of you on the way down a bit too far forward?" "It's okay, even if the pig girl comes, it's useless," said Lu Chen calmly because Xia from the opposite side had already been A by him a few times in order to gain experience and be promoted to level 2, leaving only half of his health. As long as you dodge key skills, you can fight back. At this moment, the grassy eyes of the river finally spotted the pig girl who had arrived. The factory director shouted in his voice, "Come on, come on. I'm here, I'm here." Up, Iboi's eyes flashed with a sharp gleam. "Let's take a look at AD first." Miko was equally decisive, taking advantage of the female police officer's position and making a grand appearance, flying towards her face. As long as this wave is lifted up, even if a female police officer has a double move, she will still die. However, under everyone's close gaze, the female police officer, who was already spinning in place while walking on snake skin, suddenly took a step to the left. It's just such a small step that caused Luo's W skill to lift up directly from the extreme distance. Miko was a bit confused about this. Luo's skills were depleted, directly triggering a series of chain reactions. As soon as Iboi walked up, his Q skill emitted feathers and he wanted to level A on the female police officer. Lu Chen had already begun to command, "Baolan, Kaixiao." "Okay." Baolan quickly responded, and the cow's head flashed, shattering the earth and directly hitting Xia's small body into the sky. The female police officer promptly placed the clip under Xia's body, and a Q skill peace envoy passed through Xia, who was already in danger of health, and launched an Iboi treatment. When Xia landed on the ground and couldn't even flash, he was caught by a clip and had another head popping. "Lie down." Iboi was suddenly startled and instinctively kept pressing the flashing D key. Fortunately, Miko learned the E skill and lightly danced back to Xia's side, putting a shield on her and preserving some health. I'm here." At this moment, the director's pig girl finally arrived, and the Q skill hit the female police officer directly. Now he doesn't want to arrest the policewoman anymore, just control it and let Xia hand over the flash to save his life. At this critical moment, the female police officer, who was supposed to continue outputting Xia, once again strangely took a step to the right at a 90-degree angle. This also led to the pig girl sticking to her body and passing through the female police officer's side. Suddenly, several people in the EDG training room widened their eyes. The next second, the system's prompt sound will come on. First blood. IG West killed EDG Eboi. End of this chapter. Did Chapter 10 cheat? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did Chapter 10 cheat? Is this Nima cheating? Although he didn't say it out loud, it was clear that the factory director, Eboi, and Miko were all thinking the same way at this moment. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. If it weren't for knowing that this was unlikely, they would all want to rush to the IG Club and search for a USB flash drive on the computer of Emperor Shi. What is this ultimate snake skin movement? What's even more unbelievable is that the one who manipulated this kind of movement was actually the Western Emperor. In the previous round, they ordered various dishes from the Western Emperor West. But no matter what everyone at EDG thinks, the situation on the way down has completely deteriorated. Although both Xu Nu and Luo did not die, they were also disabled and had to choose to go home. The rhythm of the factory director's wave was very hurtful. And on the IG side. Nice. Nice, my God. King Ning shouted excitedly as he ran recklessly into the lower half of EDG's wilderness, reversing the factory director's red buff. He was originally prepared to hear the news of being caught with blood on the other side of the road. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, the person who handed over a drop of blood was actually from the opposite side of the road. The sudden surprise made him feel a bit uncomfortable. The broiler in the middle of the line was also laughing and shouting, "It's truly you, Lu Chen. Can this also backfire?" This wave, the opposite field can be said to have exploded together. Fighting in the wilderness is actually okay, it's just a broken rhythm. But on the way down, especially AD, it's really tough. I was already suppressed and even killed once. When I came back, I found out that the military line was still pushing back. The female police officer and the bull-headed soldiers were tightly controlled in front of the Red Tower, causing them to dare not even go up to repair the knife. The scariest thing was that Lu Chen suppressed the line while directing Bao Lan to do things. Where to insert the eye, when to stand and where to stand, it's incredibly meticulous. At first, Eboi was a bit dissatisfied and pulled Miko to operate a few waves. As a result, after several waves of being pulled and reaching the point where the blood bar exploded, Eboi's forehead gradually began to sweat. He felt a terrifying pressure from the AD across from him that he had never experienced before. The female police officer's 650-yard range advantage was almost maximized in the opponent's hands. After being hit with residual blood again and having to go home, Eboi's eyes were already bloodshot. Is this the Western Emperor? Is this really the Western Emperor? Miko was also stunned and said, "I don't know." Eboi didn't believe it at all, his face turned pitch black and he said, "There's definitely a new person on the other side. The Western Emperor couldn't have played this way." In just 5 minutes, the difference in blade repair between both sides has reached 20, and there is still a level difference. This is definitely an extremely rare situation in professional competitions, and it's not an exaggeration to say that the line has been blown up. Next. With absolute control over the route, IG effortlessly controlled the first small dragon, even the fiery dragon. Wait until 10 minutes. A warning sound sounded, "Your team has destroyed an enemy." For a moment, all the players on the field turned their gaze towards the next path. Sure enough. A tower has been steadily taken by the female police officer, and even the bounty for this tower was eaten by the female police officer alone. When the tower was about to fall, Bao Lan's bull head had already left directly. And EDG's down lane duo was pointed back to the city when the previous wave of troops entered the tower, unable to even defend. Although they have not handed over their heads until now, the gap between the two sides in AD repair has reached over 40. Mainly because Chen not only eats soldiers, but also brushes Ning Wang's toad and 3 wolves when he has nothing to do. When brushing, Ning Wang smiled happily and said, eat whatever you want. Anyway, in this game, you're see. It's useless for me to have so much money for just one piece of meat. This kind of treatment would probably move the emperor to tears. In summary, the development of AD on both sides is no longer at the same level. The female police officer was incredibly fat, and Endless was about to pull it out. Xia only had a pair of attack speed shoes on her body. This game can now be processed as EDG without AD. The economic gap between both sides has directly reached over 3,000. Subsequently, the broiler's plane needs to be rerouted to continue its development. The female police officer and Nyo 2 arrived at the middle road and performed a good performance called range suppression for the elementary school brother scout on the opposite side. What kind of monster is this? Scout was pointed at in confusion. Lucian's hands are already short, and under normal circumstances, when encountering female police officers, he can still rely on a set of explosive tactics to fight back and forth. But encountering Chen, a fat female police officer with advanced development, there was no need to play at all. Don't worry, I'm here. Let's catch him, said the director's pig girl, driving a scan and arriving in time. The Xia on the way down has already been abandoned, so the only well-developed C. position on their side is only Lucian on the middle, and they must not collapse again. The factory director stared intently at the screen, and when the female police officer stepped forward, he boldly threw a big move out of the blind spot. Right now. Kill AD. The chains of the extremely cold prison flew towards the face of the female police officer. Scouts Lucian also seized the opportunity in time and took a sliding step forward. However, in that moment, a golden light flashed past, and the female police officer suddenly appeared behind the side. Flash! The pig girl's ultimate move swept through the air and hit the open ground directly. The factory director's pupils instantly narrowed and he said, empty. He is very confident that this wave is blind vision. Because he drove all the way to scan, and the route he took was extremely careful, and the location was also quite tricky. That is to say, the female police officer on the other side relied solely on reaction to avoid this wave of blind field tactics. Are you really cheating? At this point. Upon reflection, Bao Lan, under the command of Chen, operated the bull's head to move forward. A WQ second platoon lifted Lucian, and with the help of the female police officer's clamp and Q skills, in just 3 seconds, he took Lucian with him. As soon as the director's pig girl emerged from the corner, she could only run away in a disheveled manner. Simba, can this all be reflected? Scout looked at the gray screen with a wooden face, giving up struggling and leaning against the back of his chair. After this wave, EDG's situation can be considered a complete collapse. The game has also basically declared its garbage time. 11 minutes later, the female police officer Nyoto teamed up with Zack to win the Canyon Vanguard. 12 minutes, take the second little dragon. 13 minutes, push down the middle tower. 15 minutes to return to the city to replenish equipment, turn on the road, and push up the first and second towers in a row. Afterwards, the situation became even more unstoppable, and the economies of both sides grew bigger and bigger. In just 5 minutes, all the outer towers of EDG were removed, and the wild resources were completely consumed. Let it be, let it be. The economic gap snowballed like a snowball, heading straight towards the 10,000 mark. 20 minutes later, as soon as the dragon was refreshed, EDG played GG on everyone and both sides tacitly exited the game. The broiler and Ning Wang exchanged a glance, both still feeling a bit unsatisfied. The more frustrated you were in the previous game, the more enjoyable you are in this game. Not far away. Coach Mafa and manager Su Xiaoluo, who were watching the game, also glanced at each other and saw excitement in their eyes. Found the treasure. Not to mention 50%, this must be 100% performance, right? Su Xiaoluo murmured as he looked at Lu Chen's back ahead. End of this chapter.